So one, it's cold here. I don't know how it is in India, but it is cold here. So we're gonna warm up. Let's see. Let's see. In Jonathan's week, it wasn't this week, it was last week. But then we had to do 108 sun salutations, and then so I couldn't go through inner thigh or inner rotation and outer rotation. Like if you didn't know what inner rotation was and outer rotation, hopefully by the end of today you will know and find those muscles you probably didn't know that you had. All right. So let us get started. It is chilly and it is cold, so I figured we could just start by moving. I don't know where all the stuff came from. So we can start out. Let's see. We can start out kneeling, and just start with some cat-cow in a kneeling position. So rounding our back and rolling our shoulders up, back, and down, squeezing our shoulder blades together, sending our chest forward. So convex, concave. I can never remember which. Is it like concave makes a cave and convex is the other way? See, that's the what is it? What discipline of physics is like the stuff with the light? I don't remember. Roll your shoulders back and down, chest comes forward. This is convex, right? It's like I just remember all the prisms, and yeah, I that's from high school. Roll the shoulders back and down. This would be, I think, cow. You know, I always remember cat as like, you know, when cats are like hissing and they're in like a attack position. That's what I always think of the cat, because the cat's got that arched back and it's super mad at you and it's hissing and it's got like the tail up in the air. That's when I think of cat. That's how I remember cat, cow. Don't know why the convex part is a cow, because I don't see how cows are like that. And then big arm circles just to get the blood flowing, because it is cold this morning. It's cloudy and cold. And then forward. And I think we've had like what, record rain, we've had record snow. We avoid Tahoe, and then the other side, big backstroke. We kind of avoid Tahoe and all the crowds, because why? Why go with those crowds? And then forward stroke, big, and just go big and try to get out all the cobwebs and just find the mobility also in your spine. And then we'll do both, like swimming. What is this? Like the breaststroke when we go swimming? Kiki hasn't been in swim class, and we haven't put her back in since the break. All right, and come back into all fours. We're going to tuck the toes, lift the hips, downward facing dog, and just start moving. Today, alternating bending left and right knee. And we're really going to focus on when we're supposed to be internally rotating and when we're supposed to be externally rotating. And those muscles, because we've been, you know, we always talk about using the inner thighs. So in a down dog, there's a slight internal rotation of the thigh bones, and the rotation comes from not the feet per se, but really from emanating from the hip, right? So if we put our big toes together, our toe knuckles together, and our heels are slightly apart, and I tried to incorporate this in our 108 sun salutations. I really wanted to focus on the internal and external rotation today. We should be able to get deeper into our down dog, because we're forcing our big toe and toe knuckles to touch. Our heels are slightly separated. We're causing an internal rotation. You can also put a block in between your knees, not right now, but we'll put a block in between our knees, and this will also help engage our inner thighs. And turning those muscles on, surprisingly, surprise, surprise, gets us deeper into a down dog. Inhaling, right leg comes up to the sky with an internal rotation, which is our toe pointing down. Right? Do we have a tendency to externally rotate? So go ahead and externally rotate your leg now, just to feel what that feels like. Your hip is opening, right? This is much more comfortable. It takes less energy. But if we turn and internally rotate our right leg so that our toes point down, this is a lot harder because we are actually using more muscles. So we can think about internally rotating both legs and then bringing the right leg through. Inhaling, back foot to the top of the mat, forward fold, internal rotation. So big toe knuckles together, heels slightly apart, just in our half forward fold with our flat back. Try, or actually find your internal rotation of your legs and have your block handy so that we can turn these muscles on. Or needs to get some help with the block. Not quite yet. So inhaling, coming all the way back up, keeping that internal rotation. We're going to build up heat. It's going to help us warm up faster because we're using more muscles. And if you notice, if you're standing in mountain pose, internal rotation, we are using a ton of muscles right now. I mean, I'm definitely starting to like, oh, we're getting warm, and close the pose. We'll do our sun salutations with this mindfulness of having our internal rotation. Inhaling, big toe knuckles are touching, heels slightly apart, internal rotation, forward fold. And feel as you forward fold how you can get deeper into your internal rotation. So we're activating both the hip flexors, right? That forward fold. We're activating through our lower belly. So on our inhalation, we are contracting our low belly. Exhalation, find the contraction of the low belly. Inhale, find a deeper contraction, anterior pelvic tilt, internal rotation, halfway up. Exhale, plant the hands down, step it back, high plank. High plank, internal rotation of the legs. So big toe knuckles touch, heels slightly apart, lower down knees, squeeze the inner thighs together. Find that internal rotation as you lower down, rolling shoulders up and back. Cobra with internal rotation of legs. Feel how that's different than probably what you normally do, right? Tuck the toes, internal rotation. My big toe knuckles are still touching. All fours. My knees are smashing together. My big toe knuckles are touching, heels apart. Down dog. I feel my inner thighs really having to work in this internal rotation. Inhale, left leg comes up towards the sky. Maintain that internal rotation. And notice how that feels differently, because automatically your left hip wants to open up. And we're saying, no, we're not going to do that. Internal rotation of both legs. Swing it through runner's lunge. Feels different. Your left leg feels more active, or my left leg feels more active. Back foot to the top of the mat. Big toe knuckles touch, heels together, inhaling all the way up. And close the pose. Inhale. Big toe knuckles touch, heels slightly apart, forward fold. Feel the inner thighs squeezing together. Halfway up. Fold deeper, anterior pelvic tilt, big toe knuckles touching, heels apart, forces your rotation. To get the toe knuckles to touch, you're doing that internal rotation. Plant the hands, step it back. Big toe knuckles are still touching. Lower down knees, chest, chin, cobra. Internal, you're just maintaining that internal rotation. And notice, like, I caught myself like, oh, then my inner thighs just stopped working. I'm like, oh. It takes a different type of, it feels different. It definitely feels different. So we're in down dog. We're in down dog. Internal rotation of both legs, toe knuckles touching, heels apart, toes together. Inhaling, right leg comes up towards the sky, keeping our internal rotation of both legs. So when we talk about scissoring the legs together, this sensation, right foot in between the hands, runner's lunge, both legs are going internal rotation. Drop the back knee down. Inhale, come on up, low lunge. Now, to really emphasize that internal rotation in the back leg, so untuck the back toe and take your left foot slightly out to the left, like that. I don't know, can you see that? So like I'm taking my foot and I'm moving it to the left. That forces your leg to be more in internal rotation. And that is like the first time, I think last week, I was like, oh, you mean that muscle, that inner thigh muscle. It forces your left leg, your leg behind, to really, like, when we say internal rotation, we're like, oh, you mean that internal rotation. And your inner thighs are going to be firing up. Windmill the hands down, pop the back knee off the mat, back foot to the top of the mat. Toe knuckles touch, heels apart, inhaling all the way back up. Keep rolling your thighs in and close the pose. Inhale. Exhale, swan dive it forward. We're just constant on that internal rotation. Inhaling halfway up. Exhale, plant the hands, step it back. High plank, internally legs rotated. Toe knuckles touch, heels apart. And notice how your core is on. We always talk about your inner thighs as the fifth muscle of the core. This is why, lower down, inhaling up dog, still internal rotation. Tuck the toes, lift the hips, downward facing dog. Toe knuckles touching, heels apart, internal rotation. Now separate the feet a little bit wider, put the block in between and squeeze the block, walk the feet back in towards each other. You're probably not going to get your Toe knuckles to touch with the block in between. But let me tell you, your inner thighs are on, more on than normal. It you know, we talk about squeezing the block, but like today, because we started out with 10 minutes of this internal rotation, I can feel like I'm gripping or squeezing the block a whole lot more than I normally was, because we've woke, whatever the word is, our inner thighs. Drop the block, inhaling, left leg comes up towards the sky, internal rotation. So both legs internally rotated. Ooh. And you know what that stretches? That stretches the external rotator. So that's your outer hip. Probably going like, oh, this is tight. Drop the back knee down, right? Because if we are activating our internal rotators, we are stretching our outer hips, our external rotators, right? So see, I'm getting warm already. Okay, low lunge. The back foot, untuck the toe, and take the right foot out. Ooh, see, and then see what happens when I don't activate my inner thighs? I fall over. So I'm squeezing my inner thighs to maintain balance, but this will remind you and force you to use what it means to really work on your internal rotation. Inhaling, arms up in a low lunge, internal rotation from both legs. I feel the stretch right here on my outer hip, right? Because we're internally rotating. So that means we're stretching the opposite muscles, which is the outer hip, which is the external rotators. Windmill the hands down, pop the back knee off the mat. Back foot to the top of the mat, forward fold, find the block. Press the toe knuckles together. They won't come together. Heels apart, toes towards each other. Squeeze the block. Inhaling, coming all the way back up, maintaining that internal rotation. It feels different for me. It feels like, and close the pose. It's like a completely different set of muscles that I'm using to stand back up. And forward fold, keeping that internal rotation. So much more activity in the lower half of the body, because that's where we're bringing our awareness. Inhaling halfway up. Exhale, remove the block. Plant the hands, step it back, high plank. Toe knuckles touch, heels out. Lower down. Notice if your plank is a bit more stronger, more stable, because guess what? We're using those internal inner thigh muscles or internal rotator muscles. Tuck the toes, press it back, downward facing dog, internal rotation. Toe knuckles together, heels apart. Inhaling, right leg comes up towards the sky, right toe still pointing down, internal rotation of that free leg. This is that scissoring of the legs feeling. Right foot in between the hands, runner's lunge. Come on up, crescent lunge. And we're going to maintain that internal rotation. So either you can wiggle your left foot further to the side, to the left, and get your legs really rotating internally. Internal rotation. I don't know about you, but my inner thighs burning a lot more because we're using them a lot more. For 4, 3, 2, 1, come forward to warrior 3. A lot of internal rotation happening in both legs here. Probably more so than you normally do. Really spiraling the inner thighs towards each other. Internal rotation in both legs. Windmill the hands down to standing split. Internal rotation in both legs. Because a lot of times, what do we do in standing split? We end up externally rotating our left leg, right? But in true form, standing split is internal rotation of both legs. And we're using our muscle, I forget which muscle at this point, that we're lifting our leg, but it's not the one that we normally use when we're not internally rotating. Bend the right knee. Drop the left leg behind, plant the hands, step it back, high plank, internal rotation. Lower down. My chaturanga, so much lighter. I'm using my inner thighs. So much lighter. Tuck the toes, lift the hips, downward facing dog. A lot of internal rotation. Inhaling, right leg comes up to the sky to maintain that internal rotation. We're going to bring the knee into the chest, high plank. We're going to lower it down so we can get to Gomukhasana. Yeah, so we're going to lower our left knee behind our right. We're going to walk the heels apart. And we're going to have a seat towards the left. Oh, what is that? That is stretching something in the hip. That would be our external rotators. right? Because what are we doing right now? We are externally rotating both legs. Yeah, so both legs are in external rotation. Roll the shoulders back and down. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Inhale the left arm up towards the sky. Take the twist over to the right. We did a lot. We spent a good 10, 15 minutes on internal rotation. And now we're doing the opposite. We're stretching. We are in a external rotation. So think about pigeon, double pigeon. Those are all external rotators. Our leg is rotating out. So really bringing an awareness when we're internally rotating, when we're externally rotating, what needs to strengthen, what needs to lengthen. Whew, whew, whew. Oh, all right, crawling ourselves forward, forward, forward. Pull the right knee into the chest, extend the right leg back. Lower the leg down. Immediately, it's very easy, right, to externally rotate. That's kind of our default, is our external rotation of the right leg. Can we press the heel out and come into that internal rotation? We want to come back and lift the left leg up towards the sky. Internally rotate both legs. Left foot in between the hands, runner's lunge. Internal rotation of both legs. Inhale, come on up to crescent lunge. Walk the right foot out slightly to the right so you can have that internal rotation in your crescent lunge. So I'm pressing my right heel out. Yeah, right heel out, internal rotation. Ooh, I can feel the stretch right here in my psoas and my hip flexor right here. Ooh, and bend and go deeper. For 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Fly forward into warrior 3, internal rotation in both legs. Feel how much stronger your warrior 3 is, because you're really using that supporting left leg. You're internally rotating both legs, so you're activating your inner thighs. Lower your hands down to a standing split. Notice the default is that you probably want to externally rotate your right leg, turn it back down. And notice how that changes the muscles that you're using, and then you're lifting your right leg higher from a different place when you're internally rotating through that leg. Because when we externally rotate, we're using a different muscle group. I don't remember which one that is. I would have to go figure it out. And how do we, and lower the right leg down, still internal rotation. Float the left leg back up into one-legged down dog. Externally rotate, internally rotate, so your left hip is pointing down. Notice how your internal rotation is actually easier for me, because usually in my one-legged down dog, my default is to have that left leg, that free leg, externally rotated. Inhaling, the left knee comes forward, lower down. We're going to come into our cow-cow, moo-moo, gomukhasana. So walk the ankles apart and have a seat. Ooh. Ooh. Oh. Ow. We spent a lot of time internally rotating. Now we're tasking our hips externally rotate. Inhale, right arm comes up towards the sky, taking the twist over to the left. Ooh, go slow. Go slow, go slow. Whew. Ah. So we are stretching. What are we stretching? We're stretching our internal rotators, right? Because our legs are actively in our external rotation. And so we are stretching our internal rotators. So that tightness or whatever that I feel it deep within my hip, that is my internal rotators. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, and come forward. Come forward. Inhale, left knee into the chest, extend it back, and then press it back into one-legged down dog. Right leg comes up towards the sky. Internally rotate. Right foot in between the hands, runner's lunge. Back foot to the top of the mat. Internal rotation. So before you bring the feet together, internal rotation. Then bring the feet together. Notice how if you're more stable, because we're activating through our inner thighs. Toe knuckles together, heels apart. Inhale, coming all the way back up. I feel coming back up, it's almost like the legs are much more stable because I have more muscles on. Inhale. Exhale, swan dive it forward, internal rotation. Inhaling halfway up. Exhale, plant the hands. Step it back, high plank, internal rotating your legs. Notice how it affects your chaturanga. Maybe a little bit stronger in your chaturanga. Tuck the toes, lift the hips, downward facing dog, internal rotation on the legs. Pressing the heels out. Inhaling, right leg comes up towards the sky, still internally rotating, really engaging through the inner thighs. Cross the right behind the left, squeeze. Inhaling, the right leg comes up towards the sky, still internal rotation. Tent the left fingertips. Reach the right foot, left hand away. Notice if that's easier because we're really internally rotating our legs. Inhaling, place the left hand down, right leg comes up towards the sky. Swing it way forward, runner's lunge. We're going to drop, drop the left heel down. We're going to come up for warrior two. We're going to come up for warrior two. I'm going to flip around so I can see you guys. Warrior two. Okay, so our bent knee, the leg with the bent knee is externally rotating. The straight leg is internally rotating. So can we get more external and internal rotation out of our warrior two and see if we can go deeper and get more hip opening now that we're really dialed in into our internal and external rotation of our legs. I'm like, oh, is this what you mean by like, getting warrior two and opening up the hips? And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then once I kicked in the external rotation, the internal rotation, I'm like, oh, is that what you mean by standing in your legs, right? Because we're using more muscles. Your warrior two looks stronger, feels stronger. Now reverse, still maintaining that base. External, internal rotation. Feel the external rotators working. Straighten out both legs. Oh, still the same. External rotation in the right leg, internal rotation. Oh, I'm getting deeper right here in the psoas because I'm really externally rotating my leg. I'm really trying to press that right heel, the inner right heel to the left, right? Because that's my external rotation. And that really helps me get deeper into my reverse triangle. And then into triangle, legs are the same. External rotation. External rotation of my leg actually allows me to open up and stack my chest more. The left leg is internal rotation. My right leg is external rotation. Nothing changes. But somehow I'm actually able to get deeper into my pose. I'm able to stack my left rib cage over my right even more when I engage my legs, internal and external rotation. Now, bend the right knee, and we're going to half moon. Half moon is different. Half moon is both legs externally rotate. Yeah, so shorten the block. Okay. Use a block if you want to use a block, but half moon is both legs externally rotate. Notice how your left hip, we always talk about left hip stacking on the right, left hip shining towards me, right? But really true external rotation in both legs, this is your stack. This is how you get your left hip stacked over your right. I feel like I'm more open, like a book, it's more open, right? I feel like my left rib cage is over my right rib cage. My left hip is over my right hip. Really getting this sensation of external rotation in both legs. Lower the left hand down, lower both hands down. We're gonna lower the left leg down, come into a runner's lunge. Left hand down, right, so runner's lunge twist. So Where do the feet go? Internal rotation in both legs. Internal rotation in both legs gets you longer in your left rib cage. Now come down on the left forearm. We're going to come into a low side plank. Left forearm down. You're going to stack your left over your right on your right side plank. Which way is it? External rotation with the top leg. External rotation with the top leg. Lower your right forearm down so you're in a low plank. You're going to flip to the outside of the right foot. You're going to step your left foot behind you in a low plank waterfall. Your right leg is externally rotating. Your left leg is internally rotating. And then come back to a low plank. Internal rotation of the legs. Toe knuckles together, heels apart. Drop the hips down so that they're in the same level as the shoulders. And then press it back to dolphin, walk the feet in. Who's warm now? Toe knuckles together, heels apart. And slowly press into down dog, down dog, down dog, down dog. And lower the knees. I'm warm. I'm warm. Who's warm? Oh, I forgot my water. Oh. Okay, so don't think, just try Pincha Mayarasana, right? Forearm stand with your newfound internal rotation. Yeah? I don't know why is my watch still thinks I'm sleeping. Why does my watch still think I'm sleeping? Oh, I'm not sleeping. Okay. All right. So forearm plank or whatever you know, like, or if you want dolphin, but just forearm plank with that internal, your internal rotation is on. I don't know about you, but I feel a whole lot lighter and I can balance a lot more, and I have no idea why. Maybe it has to do with my internal rotators. Try it. It was just like, I don't know, for me it was just like, oh, okay. See if you guys feel a difference. Just pop up. Forearm plank. There you go. Forearm stand. Yep, looking good. Yeah, look at that. First try, kick up. Internal rotators. Yeah. Got a bit of balance there, Charlie, right? We got some, there you go. Look at that. Just like, look at these just hanging out. You hang out here for like the next hour, right? Does it feel lighter? It feels lighter for me. There we go. Yeah, right? All right. We have the other side. I don't remember how we started this, but okay. We'll find ourselves in down dog, internal rotators. Internal rotators. We will get another chance to try that again. Not to worry. Internal rotators. Here we go. Inhale, left leg comes up towards the sky. Notice how it's actually harder to get to the default of like external rotation. I lift my left leg and now I'm like, okay, internal rotation. My toes are pointing down, left foot in between the hands, runner's lunge, drop the back heel. We're coming into warrior two. External rotation of the left leg, internal rotation of the right leg, strong warrior two. Really feeling, I'm feeling this left heel pressing towards you. And how that heel to heel alignment is so important, right? Because my internal rotation and my external rotation builds that really strong foundation. Reverse warrior, maintaining that internal external rotation. Remember, left leg bent knee, bent leg external, straight leg internal. Straighten out. My legs are fatigued because we're using them more. Both legs straight, internal external rotation. So feel how when they're straight, the external rotation feels different. Now come down, triangle pose, and look, we talk about this right side opening more, but really it starts from the base, right? I mean, if my tree is leaning and I try to push the branches, it's really the roots, right? I really have to go and correct the root. My poor fig tree is like, it grows at an angle. I'm just waiting for it to like fall over, right? But I can't push the branches, right? We try to like, force this rib cage to open. It's like, no, if we externally rotate this left leg, it's like the door opens for this stacking, right? So bend the knee, half moon, both legs externally rotate. So grab your blocky. External rotation. Both legs externally rotate. That's half moon. That's how we get that stack. Really feeling the heels pressing in as the toe knuckles go out. Can we find length in your left rib cage? All right, lower the right hand down, lower the right leg down. We're gonna go runner's lunge twist. So now we're gonna go to both legs internally rotate. Both legs internally rotate. Coming into a runner's lunge twist. Right forearm down to low side plank, external rotation of the left leg. Lower both forearms down. Switch sides, outside edge of the left foot, step the right foot back. You're in a low plank waterfall. Internal rotation of the right leg, external rotation of the left leg. Gets you deeper into your waterfall. Also more stability. Slowly lower into forearm plank. Forearm plank, internal rotation of both legs. Drop the hips down around you're in a posterior pelvic tilt. Press yourself back to dolphin. Walk the feet back towards your nose. Internal rotation of the legs. Find yourself a spot on the wall and hop up to Pincha Mayarasana, forearm stand. Internal rotation of the legs. Find your balance here. Maybe you can actually press your chest through your arms to get an even deeper shoulder opening because your inner thighs are so much more active right now. Maybe you can find that balance in Pincha that was evading you before. Internal rotation of the thighs. Oh, it's great. You guys look awesome. Can you internally rotate your legs and then find balance of your ankles over your hips? All right, let's come down into seated. All right. Boat boat. Navasana, we're going to add the element of internal and external rotation, so that'll be fun. Roll your shoulders back and down. We're going to find ourselves into boat. Take it into wide-legged boat, into high boat. All right, we're going to come into low boat, externally rotating your legs. Okay, now internally rotate, and then come up. Internally rotated. We'll come back down, low boat, externally rotate. Inhale, come back up, and come down into low boat. Internally rotate, and come up. Oh, and lower. Externally rotate, and come up, and come back down. Whew. All right. And come rock onto all fours. Whew. Maybe we have a greater appreciation for our internal rotators. Coming into all fours, tuck the toes, lift the hips, downward facing dog. Walk the toes together, toe knuckles touch, heels pressing out. I feel like I'm trying to pull apart my sit bones. I'm trying to open up my sit bones. Inhaling. Inhaling, right leg comes up towards the sky, internal rotation, right foot to the outside of the right hand. Warrior one. Warrior one. Come on up. So, warrior one. Left leg internally rotated. Right leg, bent leg, externally rotated. That's our warrior one. Notice how that automatically, we talk about squaring our hips towards the front. We're like, oh, we're going to move the hips. No, actually, internal rotation of the back leg, external rotation of the front leg is what's going to move your hips. And tuck the tailbone. That is squaring of the hips. Bend deeper through your right leg. Shift the weight forward. And come forward, fly into warrior three. Internally rotating both legs. Inhale the left knee into the chest. Toss the right arm overhead. Internally rotating both legs as you extend the left leg forward. Internally rotate both legs. Bend the knee, peace fingers to your big toe or a strap. You're going to take your left leg out to the side, externally rotating. This is 2 external rotation. Both legs externally rotating. Notice how that drops your left hip down. Bring the leg in front, internally rotating both legs. And release. Keeping that leg up there, internal rotation of both legs. Eagle. So cross. Left arm under right, eagle arms. Lift the elbows up. So both legs are internally rotating. Both legs internally rotating. Come down for half eagle. And then extend the left leg back, flap the arms, come down for standing split, both legs internally rotating. Notice how you can get deeper into your standing split, both legs internally rotating. Your hamstrings should get more opening in the hamstrings. Because we're removing the restriction, we're doing that internal rotation. We're building our inner thigh stronger to be able to forward fold even more. Drop the left knee behind the right ankle. Come down for seated twist. Left arm goes up towards the sky. Twist it over to the right. So we are stretching our outer right hip. Our outer right hip is our external rotator. So we are finding more length in our external rotator. So internally rotate your right leg. The more more you internally rotate your right leg, the deeper the stretch in the outer right hip. And then you come back to neutral. Crawl forward into a runner's lunge. Send the left, pop the back knee off the mat. Tuck the right. Walk the hands on the inside and come down for lizard. And we're going to now externally rotate our right leg. Come down onto the forearm. Ooh. Our right leg should, our right hip should feel pretty fatigued because we just tried to stretch it. Oh. Come in for a lizard. We're going to come in and tuck our right shoulder behind our right knee and walk the hands out. So we're doing a lot of stretching on the outer right hip right now. So it's probably like not happy with us. Ooh. Walk the hands back in, come into all fours. Kind of barrel roll out. Give your hips a break. Take the toes together, knees apart, and sit it back to child's pose. We really beat up our right hip. It's probably like, oh, it's like probably not happy with us right now. Yeah, after we just stretched out the muscle, it's like, I don't really want to work right now because you just stretched me out. That's probably why it's angry with us. Tuck the toes, lift the hips, come into all fours, into down doggy. Toes in, heels out, in your down dog. And where do we go? Oh, warrior one, that's right. Inhaling, left leg comes up towards the sky. Internally rotated. Left foot to the outside of the left hand. Drop the back heel down. We're coming into warrior one. Bent knee externally rotated. Back leg internally rotated. Notice how, oh, the squaring of the hips just kind of happens when your inner thighs are working the way they're supposed to, or they're turned on. Internal rotation of that back leg. Keep rebending that left knee. External rotation is going to help you get that hip square to the front of the room. Where I feel the stretch in the psoas, my right psoas, the more I internally rotate my right leg. Shift the weight forward to warrior three. Internally rotate both legs. Your left outer hip feels probably fatigued because you're asking it to contract, and then you're asking it to contract, and you're asking it to stretch, and you're asking it to contract, and then you're asking it to stretch. Hug the right knee to the chest. Toss the left arm overhead. Internally rotating both legs, extend the right leg forward, tossing both arms up. Use the internal rotation of the legs to lift your right leg up higher. Now we're going to switch peace fingers to the right toes. Externally rotate both legs. Take the right leg out to the side. Bring the right leg back in. Internally rotate both legs. Release. Hands overhead. Internally rotate. We're going to come into eagle. So eagle is internal rotation of both legs. Right arm underneath the left. Elbows high. We're in eagle. We're internally rotating both legs. We're coming into Ardha. Half eagle, flat back. We're going to send the right leg back, flap the arms. Windmill the hands down to a standing split. Come down into a seated twist. Internally rotating the left leg. Right leg is externally rotated. Yeah, So we just used our left butt cheek a lot, and it's probably not very happy with us right now. We're going to take the twist. We're going to give it a minute to kind of release. I'm going to take the twist because our left leg is internally rotated. Internal rotation stretches out our left outer hips because our left outer hips are the opposite muscles. They are the external rotators. Those are the muscles that contract when we're externally rotating, and those need to stretch when we're internally rotating. Whew. And give your internal and external rotators a little break. Come forward into a low lunge with the hands on the inside of the left foot. Tuck the left shoulder behind the left knee. Walk the hands out, crown the head down. And just give it a moment to kind of open up the hip. Come into all fours, take the knees out wide and sit it back, child's pose. Now I come on up to kneeling. Whew. All right. Come on onto all fours, tuck the toes, lift the hips, downward facing dog. Inhaling, left leg comes up towards the sky, internally rotated, both legs. Crisscross the left behind the right, squeeze inner thighs together, internal rotation of the legs. Tent the right fingertips. Inhaling, left leg comes up towards the sky. Internally rotated legs, one-legged, one-arm down dog. Internal rotation. Notice how that makes your one-legged, one-arm down dog so much more stable. Right hand down, left leg comes up towards the sky. Open up your left hip. That feels so weird now, huh, doesn't it? I'm going to internally rotate that left hip back down, left foot in between the hands, runner's lunge. Back foot to the top of the mat, forward fold. Toe knuckles touch, heels apart. Inhaling all the way back up, floating arms up towards the sky. Whew, you have new hips. Close the pose. Your hips should feel brand new. Inhaling, arms up, exhale, swan dive it forward. Still that internal rotation of the legs. Feels like you're peeling your sit bones apart. Inhaling halfway up, exhale, plant the hands, step back side plank. Toe knuckles touch, heels out. Lower down. Inhaling up dog. Exhale, tuck the toes, press it back down, facing dog. Inhaling, right leg comes up towards the sky. Right foot in between the hands, runner's lunge. Walk the hands to the left. Toes in, heels out. Here we go. Wide-legged forward fold, prasarita. Toe knuckles in, heels out. Inhale, come all the way back up. So we're internally rotating the legs here. Internally rotating the legs. Exhale, forward fold. Internally rotating the legs. And we want to compress into a little sandwich. So inhale, flat back. Inhale, internally rotating the legs. Exhale, use those hip flexors. We haven't been focused on the hip flexors today. So find the exhalation, engage your low belly. Inhale, engage the low belly. And compress, anterior pelvic tilt. So we're doing internal rotation, anterior pelvic tilt, compressing into a sandwich. Internal rotation, rock the weight to the heels and lift the toes. So send your sit bones back, rock the weight to the heels, lift the toes. So we can compress more. Anterior pelvic tilt, internal rotation of the legs. Lower the feet down. Keep this compression, lift the heels. And get more compact. Lower the heels down, lift the toes. Get the weight into the heels, and you're trying to compress. You're trying to get your lower rib cage onto your thighs using internal rotation and your hip flexors and anterior pelvic tilt, so low belly. Lift the heels, come onto the toes, compress. So still internal rotation, anterior pelvic tilt. Rock the weight back into the heels, lift the toes, compress anterior pelvic tilt, internal rotation. And just rock back and forward. But when you walk back and forward, you don't want the shoulders to get further away from the hips, right? So if you see, we don't want this, right? Because that doesn't, if the hips and the shoulders move the same distance, they don't get closer. We want to actually compact them closer together with our muscles so that maybe we can get a little bit of air. Maybe we can try this against the wall. Maybe we can use momentum and kind of tumble forward onto the wall into a handstand from a straddle. Yeah. So, or you can just compress into a sandwich. Sandwich is okay. Let me find my power cord here. Hold on. I forgot to plug my laptop in. Here we go. So, or maybe you sit into a little straddle sandwich. The straddle sandwich is a-okay. Maybe we rock back. Maybe we rock forward. We compress into a sandwich. And maybe we just roll forward into a straddle handstand. I don't know. Or maybe we slowly try to slow our descent. It's way, well, you could try also putting your feet onto blocks and then just kind of like rolling forward onto the wall, maybe probably with a cushion or not. This took me a year to get like an inch off the ground. So there you go. Look at that, Uday. You got like a foot off the ground. I'm pretty sure that's a first. I think that's a first. So compress, focus on compressing. Focus on internal rotation. See, you got you got air, which is way like lift off. You got lift off, which is the hardest part. Internal rotation, compression. Internal rotation and compression. The key is to stack your weight over your shoulders. So how can you bring your hips and your legs? You're literally like pulling yourself up the wall with the low belly. With the low belly. It's if I took my hand and I smashed your low belly. Yeah, that's it. That's just to get lift off is huge. Because normally, remember when I started this, I put my feet on blocks. I put my feet on blocks. Now try crow. Right? Just crow, one-legged crow, whatever crow. Your crow should feel really different. Your crow, just like normal crow, maybe feels like super light. From the belly, squeeze more of the belly, Uday. really like, because basically you're like rolling up the wall, and that like again took me like 2 years, a year, 2 years to like get that part. So put your feet on blocks, Uday. Put your feet on blocks. So elevate your feet. Otherwise, for everyone else, like just do crow. Try one-legged crow and see how your activation of your inner thighs affects. Because I held one-legged crow probably the longest I've ever held it before, ever. Go figure. Oh, here we go. Oh, that was like the long. I've never done that before. I've never done that before. One-legged crow on the left side. That's a first for me. For like, I usually on my left side, I can't do it. Usually I'm like falling, and like I held it for 3 seconds. So that's a first for me. Go figure, all this inner thigh stuff. You guys know that's a first for me. Look at that, Uday. What did you do today? That looks awesome. That looks awesome. Uday's gonna hang out there all day. Why is my thing not charging? Oh, I'm confused. Did I blow? I probably blew my breaker. No, no, the lights are on. Why is my thing not charging? Hold on. Oh yeah, I totally blew the breaker. Let's see. I gotta find some power. That's what happens when I try to use my space heater. Yep. Okay. I gotta take you into the bedroom because I tripped the breaker. Whoops. I thought I was careful enough, but apparently not. I can't have light and my heater on at the highest setting or it trips the breaker. Okay. Welcome to my very messy bedroom. This is why I don't teach in here. Okay. All right. How do we do? Okay. That right? That was awesome. Oh my God, that was awesome. Uday, look at what you did today. I got one-legged crow, held it both sides like longer than I've ever held it ever. So, you know, when we talk about using our inner thighs, that's what we mean by using our inner thighs. So let's go ahead and do a seated, what is this? Konasana. I forget what it's not Upavishta Konasana. It's one of the, Konasana means angle pose, and I can't remember what seated angle pose is. But if we're in angle pose, I don't know about you, but my seated angle pose, usually I'm a little fighting towards like trying to roll using those internal rotators. Those are a lot. They're on today. So the seated part, this part from here in the internal rotations. However, different muscles when I'm trying to come forward, right? Today we didn't work on our back, we didn't work on our twist or anything like that. And so that's my restriction because I can't like actually, usually we would work on it, I can actually bring my forearms down. But today, no, because we worked on different muscle groups. We worked on our internal and external rotators. So our internal rotators, no problem. Usually I'm trying to like really force, or not force, but it takes a little bit more effort to get it to internally rotate. Today, not a problem, but this part is your upper back. So, right? So on days that we work on, for me, on days when we work together on our upper back, I can get to my toes. Not even close today. Not even close. Ugh, definitely, right? Because we didn't work on them. We worked a lot on our inner thighs, worked a lot on our internal and external rotators. My hips feel pretty good. See, you guys look awesome. Like you guys can like, not me. Well, kind of, sort of. Oh, takes definitely tight. Oh, let's try the other side. Let's try the other side. Oh. I definitely feel like I'm using my obliques more to get this because my lower back is not open. Oh, look at that, Anjali, looking awesome. Looking awesome. But our compression today, our compression is what we worked on. So if we take and come forward and this would be a convex if we press our chest forward. If we press our chest forward and we compress, we worked a lot on this part, right? So compression. Look at Charlie, he's like super compressed. I can do a flat little sandwich. Today, our compression. Oh. Ooh. Pigeon, double pigeon. Pigeon, how's our pigeon today? Right, because we spent a lot of time internally rotating. So that makes me need to stretch our internal rotators. No, we stretch our internal, no wait. We externally rotate to stretch our internal rotators. So we'll start the head to knee pose, right? So this is our external rotation. Right arm to the outside of the left pinky toe. My external rotators, like if you want to take it even a deeper external rotation would be lotus, right? Half lotus. So this is asking our right leg to externally rotate more.
Why are you doing it in here?
Because we tripped the breaker. So remember how we can't have the lights on and the heater on? Well, we turn the light on and the heater on at the same time. And so the electricity, the outlet said like, it's too much. So it shut off. So we need to get daddy.
What outlet? What's an outlet?
So there's no, the outlet, we can't get any electricity from the outlet.
Mom, why can't you remember?
I know, mommy needs to remember. Okay, pigeon. So we'll swing the left leg behind. Yeah. Longer? 10 minutes.
You seem like it's taking over time.
Oh, okay, Kiki. All right, pigeon. How does your pigeon feel? Ooh. Ooh. Because now we are stretching we're stretching our internal rotators. We're using our external rotator muscles. And so we can take twisted pigeon, fist on the bottom, palm on top, press and twist. Oh, this would be good to have a block underneath my head. That would be good. That would feel much better. Cool. And then come on up. Double pigeon. Oh. Oof. Tent the fingertips, roll the shoulders back and down, press down into your double pigeon. Like normally we work, we've done a lot of classes where we do a lot of figure four, a lot of hip opening. Today we did like the opposite side of the hip opening, right? We really focus on internal rotators, which opens up our external rotators. So my hips feel more open, but in a very different way. So let's do double pigeon on the other side. So flip what's on top. Like my hip feels like there's more space, but it's like not a, like, on days that we do the figure four, like a lot of figure four and a lot of pigeon, it's like, oh, they feel like jelly. They feel great. They feel loose. They feel like they're more space, but it's in like a very different way, right? It's a different, for me, it's a different feeling. Like I know that things are longer, but it's like, this is weird. This is like the weird type of stuff that's longer. All right, let's find our half lotus or knee to foot pose on the other side, on the side. Aiming for the outside of the right pinky toe. I can feel the restriction in my side, my left side, back. Like I feel the restriction all here. like on the delts, on the back. And release. We're going to swing the right leg behind us for pigeon and take twisted pigeon. Ooh. So my pigeon has gotten more open, not because I've been doing more pigeon, but doing like all the other things. But definitely my pigeon has progressed in the past year or so. Like I feel like I'm getting, you know, closer. When I do the twist, I can feel my left heel digging into my right hip flexor, kind of giving its own little self massage. Oh. Oof. Oof. And come back. Actually, this feels pretty good. This feels pretty good. Oh. And then come back up to seated, extending legs forward. Like I said, I feel like there's more space in the hips, but it's a very different, it's a weird feeling. Right? It's a really weird, it's like I can spread my tailbone, my sit bone wider. It's kind of a weird sensation. And let's come back onto our back. I feel my back is flatter. I don't know why, but I feel like I can get my maybe it's because I'm on my rug and not on my yoga mat. Maybe that's why. But I feel my spine can flatten more, probably because I can spread my sit bones more. So that gets to a flatter back, flatter low back. And take our heels together, knees apart into a Recline Badakanasana, externally rotating the hips for the legs. And then extending legs out long. Tossing arms overhead. And taking our arms down by our side. Taking any twists that you feel like your back needs, or if not, notice that your hips are maybe a bit more flat on the back. Maybe has a little bit more space. Maybe the space under the small of your low back actually sits a little smaller. Inhaling into the low belly. Allowing the breath to come deeper down into your low belly. Like maybe all the way down into your past your belly button. And we slowly roll over to one side, closing the eyes here. Rolling on to the right. Slowly pressing yourself up to seated, keeping your eyes closed, rooting your sit bones into the earth. Inhaling, arms overhead, clasping palms together, drawing them down to heart center. Noticing if you sit a little flatter on the floor today. Bowing forward, namaste.